There were more protests last night. Violent riots are more like it. Information is coming out that a lot of these acts of anarchy are being organized and sponsored by Antifa, which is supposed to be an anti-fascist group. I guess is supposed to. I guess they think they're fighting for racial equality, but what they're really doing is they're just really just a anarchy group. Is really what you can call them. And now the federal government has decided to classify them as a domestic terrorist organization. And I applaud them for that. Which means now that they are classified as a terrorist organization, I think that means they can be charged federally. Now, that's great. The riots we saw last night were just awful. It was just all across the country, and a lot of people were hurt. There were people who died. In Washington, D.C., it was a disgraceful sight. The historical St. John's Church was burned by rioters. The Lincoln Memorial was vandalized. The Lincoln Memorial. How much sense does that make? Abraham Lincoln fought for black people. Racial equality was his thing. He freed the slaves. If he hadn't been assassinated, he was going to give them equal rights, including the right to vote, which is, in fact, I think, why he was assassinated. So, of all the places to attack and vandalize, why would you go there? It's really sad, and it makes no sense, and it's something that shouldn't have been allowed to happen in the first place. Now, there were fires across the street from the White House. The Secret Service had to come out again with their riot gear, try to fight back the crowd. 60 Secret Service members were injured. President Trump had to be rushed to a bunker that is normally used in terrorist attack situations. The White House went dark. It was a disgraceful thing. It makes no sense. It shouldn't have happened. There should have been somebody there to shut that shit down. Immediately, shut that shit the fuck down. The fact that there wasn't is just truly a disgrace. Today, President Trump addressed the nation, said that, of course, the protesters have every right to protest. Protest, yes. But called on them to stop the violence, stop the destruction, stop the mayhem. President Trump urged the governors of every state to call in enough National Guard to dominate the streets to where the rioters will not have a chance, and the governors who do not calling the National Guard. He is sending in the military to those areas, and they will shut that shit down. He says these violent riots are ending now. Let's see how these so-called badass motherfuckers stand up to the National Guard or the military. There is a 7 p.m. curfew. I don't know if that's nationwide or if that's just in the areas where these riots are occurring. This has got to stop. America is on fire. There is no other way to put it. There is no other way to describe it. It's literally on fire. And these people are on fire with anger and hatred. They are pissed beyond belief. They have every right to be. But this is not the way to do it. Hopefully now, we'll start to see order brought back into the streets, back into these cities. And how sad is it? People are just starting to reopen. I bet these businesses were excited. Finally, there was some relief. And now, for a lot of these people, their business is destroyed. Now what are they going to do? It's a real good job. These rioters, real good job. There have been 2 different autopsies performed on George Floyd. The first one was by the medical examiner of Minnesota, I guess. I don't know. And he determined that the autopsy showed that George Floyd had recently used methamphetamines. He was under the influence of fentanyl at the time of his death and arrest, and that he died from a heart attack while being arrested. George Floyd's family, on the other hand, they had an independent autopsy performed, and their autopsy showed that he died from asphyxiation, being strangled, suffocated by this cop. Which autopsy is correct? I don't know. But if this first autopsy is correct, okay, the cop has already been charged with murder. He's been charged. But if this first autopsy is correct, does that mean that there's a possibility he can be acquitted of the charges? Maybe found not guilty of murder? And think about that for just a minute. If this cop gets off scot-free, if the charges are dropped, if he is acquitted, these rioters will lose their fucking mind, and he better go into hiding, because they will kill him. And if you think they're burning shit down now, oh my God. Imagine their anger if that would happen, if he was acquitted. It would be insane.